How's it going, everyone? Mitch here with another talk or tutorial on reducing complexity of our tracks. Now, it's very hard to mix a project that has a ton of different tracks. And what you fall into is, looking at maybe some drum tracks, mixing them how you think they should sound, going to your vocals or your bass guitar, tweaking something, and then you listen to it again and you have to go back and you have to go back and you keep going back, and it's just a very inefficient way of mixing. So what we are going to be talking about today is reducing that complexity and making it so that we can become more efficient at producing. So let's look at this example. In front of you we have a set of tracks, kick, snare, toms, a couple overheads, and a hi-hat track. And those are the drum tracks, some guitar tracks, bass guitar, some vocals, main and backing. And now this is a very simple example. But what we want to do here is split this up into modules. And as you can see, we're going to be grouping it into some drums, some guitars, a bass guitar. We could have multiple tracks there. We can even split our vocals up into even two smaller modules, main vocals and backing vocals if you want to. But this is just a very simple example of how to split your tracks up into particular modules. But this line here becomes a little bit grayed when we start talking about things like EDM, things like dubstep. How do we group our tracks into modules when we don't have guitars, bass guitar, our vocals and our drums all very nicely laid out for us? And there's different techniques here. We can group by frequency. So if you have, some particular synths or whatever in the lower frequency range, maybe group those together. That could become a module. Group synths in the middle range, group synths in the high range, group all of your vocals if you have them, group particular parts of your drums together. There's different ways to creating these modules, but the main part here is to create them. After we are creating them, what we can do is we can go inside of Logic and we can color these tracks. So for this example in front of you, there's not very many tracks, but that's okay. What I want to get across to you here is just how to color tracks. So I'm going to take this group of guitars. I'm going to select the track headers, right click, assign track color, and we'll choose red. And then we're going to grab our tracks, select all the tracks, and then go to Functions and Color Regions by Track Color. And there you are. So what I would suggest doing is coloring your modules that you've set up and grouping them logically in your interface so that you can get a better visualization of what's going on in your project. Alright, next what you want to do is mix these modules or groups of instruments separately from the other groups. So solo it out. In this example, I'm just going to select and solo out all of my guitars. Mix these together, all right? And then you're going to want to go to all your, if you want to go back to the previous example, all your drums, your bass guitar, etc., etc. So this is a very nice way of looking at abstracting our project into modules and mixing them. It just kind of reduces the amount of tracks that we have to worry about at each specific time. The next thing I want to show you or talk to you about here is what's called submixing. And I've explained this in a couple of my previous videos, but what we're going to be doing is, now that we've laid out these groups of instruments, what we want to do is bus these all to a single auxiliary track. And that auxiliary track is going to be the main fader or track for that group. And we want to do that for every single one of our groups or modules. So if we go back here into Logic, if I open up the mixer, I'm going to select, these they're already selected, but these guitars here, as you can see, they're going to the standard output. I'm going to select these and just select a bus, maybe 4. We'll select 4. So all these are being routed into a single auxiliary track. And on that auxiliary track, we can put plugins, we can EQ it, we can, change the volume of all of them together on one track. If you do have, like I do right now, have effect busing or anything, you can also route that busing to that auxiliary track. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to send both of my reverb and delay to that 4th auxiliary track. And I'm just going to name this guitars. Now, this is obviously there's not very many tracks here, but what you can do is extrapolate this to many groups. And so what you have created is a submix, and that submix is just a single track that is controlling the rest of your tracks in that group. That's the idea. And then what you're going to want to do is mix those together. I have a great tutorial on creating space in your mix by submixing. I will link you to that. But that goes into a little bit more about what to do with these submixed tracks now that we have them and we've created them. Alright, and that's really it. What you want to do is just take your project, chunk it out into modules, color them, make sure that they look, you know, they look in your interface like they are logically, no pun intended, supposed to be there. And then what you want to do is mix them separately, submix them out into a single auxiliary track, and mix all the auxiliary tracks together, mix your submix. So everyone, thanks for watching. If you want to choose my next tutorial, please follow that link in the description below, and I will be seeing you all very soon. Have a great day.